but we fight hard.
I don't know what to expect. That there's fields of landmines.
Pretty special. If anything happened, we exit.
You want to reach out to God for protection.
For the past 12 and a half years, American service members have been putting their lives on the line in Afghanistan. For the past 2.5 weeks, we've gotten the chance to learn more about their sacrifices. I'm Rachel Cox with KWTX News 10.
And I'm Steve Fullhart with KBTX News 3. For the next half hour, we'll be taking you into the lives of the brave men and women from Central Texas. Some have connections to Aggie land. All have spent time here at Kabul and about a 15-minute helicopter ride away at Bagram Airfield.
Our journey began in late January at Fort Hood as we traveled with troops deploying. These are their stories as their families hold down the fort back home. It was an emotional day at Fort Hood when soldiers said goodbye to their families and headed off to the war zone. And it's not just loved ones that offer up support. Just like so many deployments before, Elizabeth Laird was there to wish the best for those who serve. She's affectionately known as the Hug Lady, and every soldier gets an embrace.
Where would we be without them? We wouldn't be without them. So they're wonderful.
After hugs of our own, we boarded the flight, and just like the men and women in uniform, we began our journey around the world. After leaving Fort Hood, it was a quick stop in Shannon, Ireland. And then on to Kyrgyzstan, a former Soviet republic the size of New Mexico with about as many citizens as Minnesota, 5.5 million. Oh, and it's cold. Really cold. The transit center at Manas is the last place many soldiers stop before they're heading to the battlefield or before they're heading home. But soon this base will close for good as operations shut down this summer. It's because the U.S. lease with Kyrgyzstan is up.
Until that moment, we will be moving on with our mission and getting our airmen, soldiers, sailors, Marines through Manas.
While we were there, we caught up with soldiers preparing to enter the war zone for the first time. Many still thinking of families back home, like 19-year-old Joaquin Santos, who'd said goodbye to his new wife of 7 months just days before. A FaceTime session can really go a long way towards easing the tension.
It was really hard. I don't know. I had to tell him to go because I just wanted to keep holding on to him, so it was really tough, but I'm surviving so far.
It felt good to be a part of being able to go to Afghanistan and be part of the last people coming out, saying that I actually got to go to Afghanistan. But it was also hard because I'm a private and, coming in, I don't know what to expect. And especially we newly married, it's hard leaving my wife,
From Manas, we traveled into Afghanistan with soldiers from the 31st Combat Support Hospital Unit out of Fort Bliss. Aggie William Craig from Salado was among the group.
I have not deployed to Afghanistan before, so this is my first deployment. I have deployed to Africa, but looking forward to the opportunity.
You'll learn more about Major William Craig in just a little bit.
Our first stop was Bagram Airfield, one of the biggest military bases in the country. There are more than 20,000 soldiers, civilian contractors, and Afghans on site every day.
This one is more than 25. 25 for you 20 because your first
20?
customer. 20, yeah. Because your first customer for your $5 discount.
While Bagram has been the target of enemy rockets in the past, which has led to the deaths of military members, Army officials said this time of year, attacks are less likely. That's because of the cold and bad weather. But rain or shine, Fort Hood soldiers work to keep the base safe. Obviously, Bagram Airfield is a large facility, needs a lot of defense on the outside. That's why towers like this one stand watch over the perimeter of Bagram. But there's also work being done outside as well. As you can see behind me, there's a large group of Afghans who are searching the fields. Back when the Russians controlled this area, they loved to use landmines, and there are a lot of them out there that these folks are trying to find.
BAF used to be Russian base, and then once the Russians moved out of Bagram area, it became coalition forces base. So the way the Russians protected their camp was just laying mines around the camp.
With the scheduled drawdown of U.S. forces coming soon, it is imperative that while the Americans are here, that they're able to help and support those who are trying to clean up this area.
When some of our troops go outside the wire on patrol, they also got to be aware that there's fields of landmines all the way around in Bagram. Not only around the camps, but there's other areas where there's minefields also.
Kochi's security team member Shankar Kumar's job is to protect the perimeter of Bagram Airfield from this defense tower. His weapon is usually an AK-47.
Avoid aiming anything above the shoulders.
But now American soldiers are training them to use less lethal firearms, since children and teenagers are oftentimes the ones approaching the towers.
We're armed with AK-47s, which is lethal, obviously, force. A lot of things happen around the perimeter are involving children or young teenagers trying to steal things. We obviously can't shoot them.
The ammunition itself, it's a polymer. It's got a payload in of paint. When it hits, it's designed to explode instead of penetrate into the body.
All right, after I get done firing.
So far, the training has been going smoothly for the Kochis, who mainly stand watch at the towers.
They're catching on really quick. They listen, they're attentive. Then when we go on the range, the shot placement's always good.
And the new weapons could also help identify possible threats beyond the wire. This non-lethal weapon uses ammo that breaks apart, so soldiers can also use this to leave a mark on suspicious vehicles approaching the tower. One tactic soldiers from all over the world will continue to use to protect Bagram, even after many American troops have gone home.
Meantime, though, we're focusing just on the daily job of making sure everyone inside this base is safe and secure.
Securing an enormous military base like Bagram Airfield takes a lot of work by many different soldiers on all levels of the battlefield.
It's extremely important.
For the commander of Fort Hood's 3rd Battalion 82nd Field Artillery Unit, it started with gaining the trust of the Afghan people.
Like moving into any new community, you have to establish that trust with your neighbor. And frankly, as the Afghan police have taken charge of the security here, it's even more important.
Brooks also depends on interpreters to help in communities near Bagram.
Yeah, they are fine with me. I don't know, but they are fine because I respect the culture. Every time I cover my head.
Rose has to have the ability to speak with my command voice, to talk to the Afghan leaders and explain to them where we need their assistance, wherever it is, in the Bagram district. And she does a great job with that. The leaders respect her.
Here you can see just beyond the wire mud huts and a mosque where Afghan people live just outside of Bagram Airfield. Other Fort Hood soldiers on the front lines of intelligence and patrols have also helped to prepare the Afghan security forces as the drawdown continues.
Right now we're providing security for this base, and we also patrol the nearby villages right outside. And we do training with the Jordanians.
Trends show that the Afghans are really taking the lead, and we're a supporting unit to the Afghans at this point in the war.
A war that's meant multiple deployments for many of these Central Texas soldiers who will soon get to return home to Fort Hood.
As the sun sets over Bagram, Lieutenant Chris Torres and members of Alpha Battery, 3rd Battalion, 82nd Field Artillery rise.
The best time for the enemy to hit us is when we're sleeping. So what we do is we sleep during the day when we're most energetic, we're supposed to be most energetic, and then we wake up at night and we control the nightlife.
As a platoon leader, the Aggie and his fellow soldiers secure things inside the wire. If the enemy tries to drop in or drop something in the base, Alpha Battery works to stop it.
So all these guys are well prepared. They're always out here ready to go do what they got to do for us.
Torres says he came out of the womb an Aggie, to Aggie parents. He'd already made it to A&M when his dad revealed that he'd been on the fish drill team that took the national title in 1978.
That's when I found out that I had a history, and my parents met there. So I decided that history could repeat itself for once.
But Aggieland wasn't originally his collegiate stop. A Marine Corps scholarship at the Naval Academy fell through, and he was at basic training with the Marines when former A&M Commandant General John Van Alstyne offered Torres a full-ride Army scholarship.
I didn't care what uniform I wore, I just wanted to be an Aggie, class of 12.
War zones are inherently stressful places, but for Lieutenant Torres, maybe one of the most stressful times of all came not in a firefight, but a snowball fight.
And at one point in time, I actually did throw my ring off because I've lost plenty amount of weight out here, and it was lost for 3 days until the snow cleared, and one of my soldiers found it for me. I do believe that it was really heartfelt when I did lose my ring. However, I believe my overall responsibility in making sure every one of these soldiers gets home alive and well to their families is a little bit more heart-pounding.
Everything ready to go? Ready for the night? I know we're here a little earlier than usual. Good to go.
It's hard to mentally prepare yourself for what you're going to go through out here. However, I know after 4 years of A&M and the crucial, important facts that they put into you and the mindset they instill, you'll be prepared for it.
How's everything going, man? You got everything ready to go on your Vic?
Yes, sir. Everything's good.
This RPG net, when RPG hits, it'll first hit the net.
Captain John Dye has seen his fair share of dangerous territory on patrols outside the wire at Bagram Airfield in Afghanistan.
To go to Iraq, Kuwait, and Afghanistan, two of the biggest places in the news in the last 15 years. Able to go to those places has been amazing. I've learned a lot as a person, as a soldier.
But it's been the text messages, phone calls, and FaceTime sessions with family back in Harker Heights, where he grew up, that have helped remind him of home.
Show us the tie again.
The tie?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, that's awesome. All American.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. It's got 82nd on it, and I wore it over to Rotary.
And I was a battalion commander here at Fort Hood. I found a great job, and I retired in 1994.
My dad did 23 years in the Army. He was an MP, retired Lieutenant Colonel, CID.
Now his dad is the director of school safety for Killeen ISD. But before he took this job, his son grew up a military child, moving from Fort Bragg to Germany and then to Fort Hood. So when John decided to follow in his father's footsteps, keeping up with the family tradition, you can imagine how proud it made his dad.
My dad is he's my hero. He's my inspiration. If I can do half the things he's done, I'll be all right.
Hey, I'm so proud of you. You got less than, 3 weeks or so, four weeks, and you'll be right here.
He never pressed it on me, though. I got a degree in music. In composing at Texas State, so he let me do whatever I wanted to do.
So when John told us that fall of his senior year, he came back and told us he'd already spoken to a recruiter. And it knocked my socks off because he had never, ever mentioned that he might consider the military as a career.
When you have a family with a military tradition, grandfather, father, grandson, it's just wonderful. It can't be prouder, but you don't force someone to go into some career.
And soon enough, this family will no longer be worlds apart as Captain Dye's unit heads back home to the Great Place.
That's the term, the Great Place. But that's not necessarily just the installation, it's the community around it.
Yeah, coming to Texas, best state in the world, and coming to Killeen or Harker Heights it's everything. It's literally coming home.
There's a big difference between being inside the barbed wire of a warfront base and leaving it. 6 years in the military, Captain Jason Ramirez is deployed to Iraq once and Afghanistan now twice.
I was outside the wire conducting operations daily, every day. This is my first deployment behind a desk, but everybody contributes, and I'm just, glad to be a part of the team.
Ramirez is serving as a liaison officer with 2nd Brigade, 1st Cavalry Division, helping move critical information on operations in a field he knew he would be a part of.
Growing up as a military brat, you're kind of surrounded by it, and you see what it's all about, and so that kind of helps shape me into the person that I am, especially with my dad being in the Army, the discipline he instilled, my grandfather, his history.
Joe Ramirez Sr. served in the Korean War and was taken prisoner for nearly 3 years. Joe's son was inspired. Despite being surrounded by gang influences that led other family down bad paths, Joe Jr. ended up in Texas A&M's Corps of Cadets, then in the Army. He rose to be a general, one that now leads the A&M Corps as its commandant. Jason Ramirez's A&M ring comes from Corpus Christi, but his love for College Station's campus is clear, along with for his inspiring dad.
He understands exactly what I'm going through, so it's easy to talk with him. He's always been 100% supportive. Of course, you know, he's worried. You know, he doesn't like that I'm over here, but he definitely understands why I chose to come back over here and what I'm doing.
How much of an inspiration is your father to the path that you took?
Just very inspirational, you know, just he's my hero, he's my role model. He's somebody that I've always looked up to, you know. He's everything. I try to, you know, live, you know, conduct myself as an officer like he did. You know, I look up to him a lot.
Wow. Pretty special.
Has he said that before to you?
No. Pretty special. The military career is a tough life. It takes you away from your family a lot. Whether you're training, or whether you're deployed, or whether you're serving overseas in an area where your family can't go, it's challenging, and it was hard. And as I look back on it now, and I've got 5 children, if I could have done anything differently, I'd have spent more time with my kids. But it's nice to hear. Those are the kinds of things that dads live for.
Dad, I love you. I appreciate everything you've done. I will always remember everything that you did for me as a kid, especially all the discipline. Everything that you did was for a reason. I really appreciate it, and I'm the man today because of you.
He's done far more than what I ever would have expected of my son in the military. And again, I never pushed the military on him, but he's chosen to serve, and I'm very, very proud of him for that. And I love him immensely, and he's my hero.
In the middle of keeping a watchful eye on Bagram, we learned many soldiers were able to find some comforts of home.
We have some barbecue ribs, collard greens, macaroni and cheese, and then a mango salad. This isn't what I was expecting at all. It's a lot better than the MREs that we have to eat, so just having a hot meal is awesome, but definitely not as good as my Aunt Mary's cooking back home, I'll tell you that.
PlayStation number 2, your time is expired. PlayStation 2, your time is expired.
This is a very active base, and the troops need somewhere to come and veg and take their minds off of what they're doing at work. And we just provide this in a form of supporting the troops. We go beyond that just in providing snacks, connectivity, fresh coffee. So they definitely enjoy this. It's a touch of home.
With most deployments at 9 months to a year, you can imagine how important living quarters are to a soldier. At Bagram, many soldiers live in small dorm-style rooms, so getting creative with the space can go a long way.
Hello, I'm Kevin Vines. Welcome to my crib. This right here is my entertainment center that I built out of some scrap woods that I found, and it's to hold all my necessities, I guess you could call it. A couple of things I buy over here just to make it look more like home, to make it feel like home, or home away from home. This is considered my living room. That's my kitchen you came through. This is my living room here. And this is my bedroom where, you know, I spend a little time.
This is my little foyer area as you come in. I don't have a roommate right now. This is like my little food section area. And then this is like my little table with all my supplements and food. I have a TV and a microwave. I kind of divided it off because when I had a roommate, you know, just to have a little bit of privacy. So, and this is like my actual room area. I have 2 wall lockers. One is like for all the military gear, and then, well, that's all I have is military gear. This is like my little twin bed. Try to make it as close to home, so I got this from Walmart. Got this from the local shops here. My name is Sergeant First Class Leggett. You just seen my crib, but I gotta go on to the next mission, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.
From Bagram, we traveled to Kabul as our journey continued through Afghanistan. The next stop was at the International Joint Command Headquarters, where 3 Corps Commander Lieutenant General Mark Milley handed over the command of the International Security Assistance Force Joint Command. Milley said it was not about change, but a continued effort to train the Afghan army and police. A somber moment marked with soldiers from both countries saluting their flags as their national anthems played back to back. But this sign of progress is still haunted by the reason troops have been here for more than a decade.
Never, never again allow our country to be attacked from the evil that had found sanctuary in the hills and the mountains and the training camps in a country called Afghanistan.
And even as Milley and the rest of 3 Corps soldiers leave, the work is not done.
Our purpose hasn't changed one iota from the first day I set foot in this country over a decade ago. Now the way we do that is you have to build a better future for the society in order to stabilize the society. And the way we've chosen to do that as a nation is to build a security force.
A long-term goal some hope to reach by keeping American and NATO troops in the country past the 2014 drawdown date.
And I'm optimistic and confident that sooner or later the political aspects of that will work itself out, and we stay focused on building an Afghan security force, which is really critical.
But for now, getting home is the top priority.
Looking forward to get back to Texas. Can't wait to embrace my wife and start riding some horses down there in Texas and eat some Texas barbecue.
The base in Kabul was vastly different compared to Bagram because soldiers from all over the world were there taking part in the mission.
49 different nations taking part, from big nations such as your own, the US clearly the biggest contributor. The UK is the second. We have about 5,200 troops in country at the moment, and then big forces from Germany and from Italy as well in the north and the west. But also have smaller countries as well, contributions, including the Jordanians, as you may have seen on the gates here, the Jordanians controlling Macedonians as well. So a lot of other nations contributing.
22-year-old Mohammed Youssef Baha's store shines with jewelry. He thinks his country has shined much more since the United States and its allies came here.
So we had more business opportunities, so it helped a lot of Afghan pupils, and I feel really grateful. That's if you're happy from the business.
And I put a name on it, nameplate.
Down the path, Sami Hamadi's store features all sorts of trinkets.
13, 12 years before was quiet, no business, nothing. Now it's lots better. And the outside, lots of routers, everything fixed, a lot of buildings, a lot of people now rich.
For a market on a coalition base, that of course means coalition business and coalition money. But if a bilateral security agreement is not signed by the end of this year, all the soldiers go away, and so does business.
I hope they will sign it. It's good for Afghanistan, really good. We like to, the president has to sign it as soon as possible.
So I think it's not just mine, it's one of the biggest concern of all Afghan people, because still we're thinking that the Afghan ANA and the Afghanistan forces, they're not as stable to take all the security.
But whether it's security or business on their minds, and they certainly go hand in hand, April's election will be a major moment.
Because it's going to be for the very first time the Afghan people that they will be able to, let's say, elect their president by themselves. Let's say, opportunity for Afghan people.
The opportunities after that election are still a deal to be haggled.
Last time was 50 pieces.
I know, yeah.
We did.
While in Kabul, the reality of the true dangers across Afghanistan were still very clear.
We got evacuated around 8 o'clock this morning when military police came inside the building where we are staying and pulled the fire alarm. We later found out that a suspicious vehicle had been located on the northwest part of the base here at Kabul International Airport, where the International Joint Command Headquarters is also located.
The NATO forces, they were near a prison on the east side of Kabul, about 10 miles from our location at the Kabul International Airport. And a bomb in a vehicle driven into the convoy, the second largest Islamic militant group in the country, claimed responsibility after that attack.
The hard part for any soldier, the separation from family.
It's the one thing about deployments that never gets easier, especially for Major William Craig.
But it is hard to leave kids and my wife, and so they're very supportive. We have a lot of supportive friends though in Central Texas, so that makes it easier.
Craig is in Kabul, Afghanistan now with the 31st Combat Support Hospital Unit. The Aggie will be there for most of this year while his wife and 2 kids are back home in Salado.
Get a hold of him.
We got to eat lunch with David and Colette today after church, and that was great to see them.
Right.
But now technology has made it easier for Craig to see his family every day. It's these moments, he says, that have made his deployment easier.
You know, I am a much more happy and positive person when I get to see my wife at least once a day. So I think my demeanor and attitude, you know, you shape that yourself, but I think my demeanor and attitude every day are a little brighter once I get to see my wife.
Well, that makes me feel good. I'm glad that he feels that way and he wants to see us and talk to us. And it's important to keep those bonds going and to just strengthen your marriage.
But I love yous or news of a baby's first steps or words haven't always been this easily communicated to the war zone. In fact, when Craig's father deployed to Vietnam while he was a newborn, his mother did what she could so her husband could watch their son grow up.
My mother would make 8mm movies of me each month, once a month. And so my dad, once a month, received an 8mm movie. And from the stories I've told, that was an event each month when he got those 8mm movies because everybody shared everything, you know, when you're deployed. So that's the way he kept up with me, was through those 8mm movies.
Today, his family still has those same movies his father brought home from Vietnam to remind them of the sacrifices and strength they've built their family around.
I just think it's important to stay in touch, and if you can, talk every day, email, Skype, FaceTime, whatever you can do to keep in touch.
Just share things as a way to keep your relationship strong, and it means everything to me to be able to see her and talk to her and hear her voice.
A testament that a picture or a video really is worth 1,000 words, especially to a soldier at war far from home.
I'm glad you found that.
A place these men and women have been looking forward to getting back to for the last 9 months.
Hey, there he is. What you doing there, guy?
So you can imagine the emotions when they finally made the walk across Cooper Field at Fort Hood.
Hey, y'all, how's it going? Coming home to the U.S. and to my hometown, coming home to Texas, ain't nothing better. Hey, Phil, how's it going? I want barbecue. I want to have some beers. And I like to relax, wear some sandals, some shorts.
Oh, it feels just wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. He's looking good.
It's a lot of emotion, as you know, and this will be the 4th time that I've walked across this field, and it just gets better every time.
Even though many Fort Hood soldiers have made it home, others will head to the war front later this year.
And of course, we hope that all of them get home safely. Their mission won't be complete until that happens. We very much appreciate your time, and it's been our privilege to bring you the stories of these Texas soldiers. I'm Steve Fullhart.
And I'm Rachel Cox, reporting from Kabul. Thank you for joining us.